Hello and assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very warm welcome to KKDL Post ACCA December 2024 Results Counseling Session. I am Kashif Kamran, and today I have been joined by uh, a panel of esteemed and experienced tutors, which I will be introducing shortly. But first of all, please assure that you are joining this session from any social media platform of KKDL, whether that is Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. And you can raise any questions to the panel of the tutors in front of you. And the purpose of the session is to engage with you and to give you the right set of directions for the March 25 and the June 25 exams. So you're free to ask questions to the tutor. Now, basically, the purpose of this session is not to discuss sometime you win. The purpose of the session is to discuss sometime you learn. We're looking into the failure side of the results because that's where the counseling is needed. In the last 24 hours, we have been congratulating students on their success. We are posting students' success stories on the social media. But this particular session is for the failures who have failed in the December 24 exam setting, and they need the right guidance to boost up for the March 25 and the June 25 exams. So that is the purpose of the session. Let me introduce the panel which we have today. We have been joined by Shahnawaz Ahmed. He will be taking on questions for TX, ATX, and FR paper. We are joined by Hussain Qazi. He will be taking on questions for SBR, AFM, and FM. We are joined by Abil Ahmed. He will be taking on the questions for AFM, SBR, and ATX. And we're joined by Ms. Zaira Anis. She will be taking on questions for PM and APM paper. And I myself is Kashif Kamran taking on AA, AAA, and SPL questions from your side. So let's open up the discussion and let's go down asking questions to our panel. First of all, just before starting the session, there has been a surge in the global pass rates, which are announced by ACCA for December 24 for the paper TX, AAA, and AFM, 1% increase from the September 24 exam sitting. All other papers have shown a slight dip from 1% to 2% over the September 24 exam setting, with financial reporting paper showing a very stable result at 50%. There was a significant dip in the AA paper, dipping from 47% in September 24 to 44% in December 24. So that's something which we will be investigating later. But more or less, the results have been very balanced if you compare from the September 24 exam setting. Nothing unusual. Now, I would like to engage my panel with a very first question. I would like to have a quick view of each one of you on the overall ACCA December 24 exam results, and you can speak in the domain of the subjects you are teaching. So let's first start with Mr. Abil Ahmed. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Basically, I would say if there is a little bit increase or little bit decrease, that is totally acceptable. We will not say that's something unusual. If even a rise of 1% is coming, that is really good for the students. But sometimes, what sort of audience they are giving exam, that also makes the difference. So I would say nothing something special which has increased 1%. I would say passing rate, because there is a rise in the passing rate, but exactly how many students they appeared first time, how many students they were repeating the paper, we don't have that data as well. So if
Mhm.
there's a rise, I
Okay.
would say just take it positive. That's it.
Okay. Hussain Kazi, you would like to add something on the overall ACCA results for December 24?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. There is no major change with respect to the subject of the financial management, strategic business reporting, and the optional exam. Still, the highlighted point is that, uh, particularly to strategic professional level exams, the passing rate of SBL and SBR, it's still maintained with the radius of the 50 or 51%. The SBR specifically 51%. And other side of the strategic level, the optional exams with respect to the AFM, still the passing rate is good. That's about 45%. Previously, that was 44%. So this nowadays, since last 6 to 7 semesters, AFF passing rate, it's continuously. It's with the radius of the 44-45%. That's very good with respect to the students, what they are performing. But still, we need to diagnose what are the reasons that student not able to pass this. And same case for the skill module, the good passing ratio with respect to the financial management is still maintained. So that's my side.
Okay. Okay. Sir, I just want to have a word on you on one of your students just scored 99 marks in the SPR paper in December 24. If you want to shed light on that.
Yes, one of my student got December 24 the 99 marks for SPR exam. Alhamdulillah. So that's about very specific point. A very specific point. Uh, so Kashif, 3 semesters ago, ACCA introduced some pre-populated sheet version with the SBR, and students were struggling since last 3 semesters, continuously not able to complete their exams. And the prime reason, previously I investigated in very depth, the prime reason was the question number one, time management. That's student just enter with the question number one and not able to complete the question within the time frame, struggling to practice one, the CB format, number two, tackling the pre-populated sheet version.
Mhm.
So very specifically, I use some tools how to cater the question number one within the time frame of the 50 minutes. My students did a lot of practice with my guidance. What's the right tool about to attempt question number one with the right time and get the motivation and move on accordingly. So that's the prime reason. That's one of the students got a 99 marks. Alhamdulillah.
That's great. That's great. So congratulations to you and the student as well. Ms. Zaira, you would like to add something on the overall result for December 24? Miss, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Generally, APM result is around 33, 34, 35%. I mean, mid 30s range. It increased to 38%. Now, I think it's getting back to the normal 37, 38. From 38, it's now 37. So it's pretty above the average. If you are considering from the last semester, there's a 1% decline, but considering the average of APM, it's fine. Same with performance management. Still, performance management was around 34-33% ratio, and now it's from 39 to it's 38. So both papers reduced by passing ratio reduced by 1%. But I think if you see the general trend, it's over and above the general trend.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Zaira. Sir Shanavas, you would like to add something on the overall ACCA December 24 results? So you have to unmute yourself. Okay, so Shanavas, you can hear us?
I think there's a problem. Sure.
Yeah, just let's move on to the next question. My first question to the panel would be that this is a frequently asked question. Immediately the results are announced, and you look at your WhatsApp messages. Either the students are talking about their success or they're talking about their failure. And the very first question pops up is the student tells, I failed, and immediately the next question he asks a tutor is why I failed. So what's the answer to this question? Why I failed? Again, starting with Mr. Abil Ahmed first. What's the underlying answer to this question?
Only one reason. Only one. When students they do not listen all the instructions of their tutor, they will simply fail. Only one reason.
Okay,
That's it.
okay, fine, fine, fine. Not listening to the instruction of the tutor. Okay, Hussein Kasi, your emphasis on why I failed.
I wanted to add two more points. Number one, students are very much motivated, but lack of consistency, that's called discipline.
Mhm,
Motivation is not the only criteria to get success. If you
mhm.
motivate, develop the strategy and make discipline, that's consistency. That's a key point.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Number two, uh, uh, if, why student, if someone asks why I failed, so there should be another reply that yes, this is a very important question. You need to identify the reason why you failed, and the prime reason is that if you wanted to identify the reasons, the strategy the student must have to follow that ACC will announce or will publish nearby all the September December 24 exam papers with the model answers, and as well as the examiner report as well. So the strategy should be attempt that paper or at least brainstorm the paper, read the paper, brainstorm the key points, and after that, simultaneously read the examiner report, and with the examiner report, identify what the complaints mentioned by the
Mhm.
examiner. If there are 10
Totally agree.
complaints made by the examiner, that's mentioned by the examiner, match what the complaints you have done. So with that point, you will be able easily to identify the gray areas or the reason of your failure,
Mm,
and then make the
totally true.
strategy accordingly how to overcome this. So
Yeah, totally,
that
totally agree.
should be the
Totally agree.
strategy.
Ms. Zaira, your words on why I failed. That's a journal question you get from student post result.
Okay, I will keep it short. With respect to what Hussain Ghazi Saab said is perfectly right that you need to do practice, you need to see the examiner comment. But for APM specifically, I think there are two reasons why students fail. The first reason is that whenever you ask students to prepare for APM paper, they don't write the answers. They just think, they read the question, they write the bullet points, and they think that they are done with the paper. They just read the examiner comments. You have to write the answer in order to get used to of how to write APM paper. The second one is
Mhm,
justification issue is a major problem. Students don't justify the relevant point that why they are writing an answer, because telling someone to do this is not enough. You have to tell, do this because of this, right? So that because factor
mhm,
is completely missing. The third thing which I just want to ask students is to write the answer and ask your someone tutor to check that, to get the feedback from your tutor, because I have seen that those students who continuously take feedback from the tutor, basically I'm talking about myself, uh, those chances of those students to fail is quite low compared to those who don't take feedback from their tutors. So, because third party can only tell you what is wrong with your paper. For theoretical papers, you cannot analyze your paper by yourself. So, I think justification and getting the feedback from tutor is the main key for APM.
totally agree.
And for
Yeah.
PM,
Mhm,
for performance management, it's there are two areas: calculation and theoretical. So for Asian people, theoretical part is again a problem. They are unable to express themselves. And for other than Asian people, generally they lack in practice. So PM has two versions, but APM has just version: lack of practice and justification and feedback.
totally, totally agree. Thank you for that perspective. So, Shanavas, can you hear us and can you we can get your answer for why I failed? Journally, student ask what's basically the answer to this question when student ask why I failed. Again, I think we
I
have
think
some
we lost
connectivity
connection.
issues. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next question, in continuation to what I was asking you, why I failed. Is this a right perspective that we should be telling student that when you ask a question why I failed, it's about sitting down uh, next 24 hours post result and do a self evaluation of yourself. How important is self evaluation within 24 hours post result, and what are benefits of that self evaluation to a student? Over to you, Sir Abil.
Okay. Actually, there are a number of reasons for the failures. Okay. It is not all the time Study, because sometimes other circumstances, they also play a very key role, because we never know if something goes wrong with someone just few days before the exam. That could be another leading factor.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, near to the exam, some of the student, what they do, they just tend to focus on a, just few important areas, and they ignore some of the areas. If you have ignored even few areas and they come in your main paper, then obviously you will be having troubles. So
Mm-hmm.
again, when you are studying, don't leave anything, go for each and everything. Simple as that. If you're doing a skim study, that you're preparing yourself for one topic, leaving another, that is not important, so that will not work in ACCA. So do
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
skip any
Agree.
topic. That's simply I want to say.
Fine, fine. Ms. Zaira, your input on how important self-evaluation is once you fail and you sit down and you realize that what are reasons why I failed the exam.
See, first of all, I think it's extremely important to understand that something went wrong with your paper. That's why you failed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Accepting the failure is very important. That there was something wrong, so you need to reevaluate yourself. I mean, you have to, it's like reprocessing the issue that, okay, fine, let's accept that I did something wrong, I failed. Now I need to re examine myself. And I think the best way of doing that is to sit with your tutor if he or she is available. Tell the tutor that this is something which I'm looking for. See what he or she says. Like for example, there is a student. I got a call from a student, and he said that he flunked at 38. So the first question which I asked, did you complete your paper? And he said that no, 10 marks were left in the paper, and he flunked at 38. So that
Mm-hmm.
means that actually made the difference because your paper was marked out of 90, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
just said that you need to work on your time management thing, right? And if someone is doing complete paper, like there is another query, another issue with a student, he said that no, I can complete my paper less than 3 hours. So my feedback was that if you are writing less, if you're not writing enough answer, that is also a way of completing your paper in 2 hours and maybe 50 minutes, 2 hour and 45 minutes. So you need to reevaluate yourself that how much you have written. So there can be
Mm-hmm.
multiple reasons you can diagnose. So the best idea is to sit with your tutor and see, just have 5 minutes chat and see what are the reasons, what can be the reason. There can be different reasons for different type of failure, but you have to accept that there was something wrong with your paper. You cannot
Yeah,
repeat same mistake again and again.
totally agree. Totally agree. Hussain Kazi, your perspective on how important self-evaluation is once you fail the ACC exam.
Um, I totally agree with my colleagues. As Abil Saab said and the Zaira identify the reasons is a key point. I wanted to add one more thing here. That's whatever Zaira said, that accept the reality. That's called the reality check.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Kashi Saab, as you know that for all strategic professional level exams, there are two important variables to get success.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, concept building, and simultaneously the exam techniques.
Agree.
So student must have to identify the reason with both aspects. As Abil Saab said that what the gray areas with respect to the concept, identify that gray areas. And
Mm-hmm.
also what exam techniques you are not able to apply. For example, my paper that's about the AFM,
Mm-hmm.
the spreadsheet functions, the calculation aspects. You need to learn and practice the spreadsheet functions in a
Mm-hmm.
way to save the time from calculation and invest the time for the theory. So you need
Agree.
to learn these, no? That's important.
Mm-hmm.
And another last point, don't over rely on the tutors, because nowadays the ACC exam structure in a way that students need to involve more and more, especially with the CV practice and more things.
Agree.
So accept this reality and do the things in this manner accordingly.
Totally fine. So all of you are in. You have a clear stance on self-evaluation is important post results because
Yes.
you need to identify the areas what went wrong, and you need to work on those areas to get success in the upcoming exam. Now, some of the other frequently asked question right in front of your screen is that I failed in 40s. Should I reattempt in March 2025? Because mostly students get 44, 46, 42, 48, and they keep asking that should we immediately go for the March 2025 exams? So a quick word from each one of you. What's your say on this? Starting with Abi Lemeth.
I would say if someone is getting 40 plus marks, that student must sit for the immediate attempt.
Okay.
Because if that student takes a gap of immediate attempt, then the whatever previously hard work he or she has done, that will be just no value. Then all the value will be just go away. So it is highly advisable they must
Hmm.
sit for the immediate attempt, and getting 40 plus marks means they have a really good knowledge, but
Hmm.
somewhere they are missing just few areas, maybe
Okay.
conceptual, maybe little bit lack of practice. But I
Hmm.
would say must sit for the immediate attempt.
Okay. Okay. Fine. And Miss Sarah, your intake on whether the student should go immediately for March 25, considering he failed in above 40 marks?
Yeah, I totally agree with Sarabil. He or she must go for the next attempt because the whatever he or she has learned is fresh. The only
Hmm.
thing is to see what actually went wrong. Maybe lack of practice. Maybe he need to work a little bit on the way how he or she is answering, especially for APM and PM. So I
Hmm.
think yes, my answer will go for the next attempt.
Okay. Okay. And Hussein Kazi, your response to this question?
Yes, I also agree that student, if got just 40 or 40 plus marks, the
Hmm.
student must have to attempt immediately with this with the next March 2025, and but need to identify the reasons of the failure
Okay.
and then move on accordingly. I totally
Hmm.
agree about it.
Exactly.
Hmm. Fine. So I also have the same opinion because 40 plus is what I consider is as a good failure. It's not a bad failure. If you fail under the 40, it's a bad failure. So above 40 is just like you need to fine tune yourself. And just by doing the fine tuning, as Abil said, you just need to focus more on practice, more on time management, something like that. And you can get through in the next exam setting. So it's not about the lack of knowledge. It's probably lack of practice, which led you to a failing in above 40. Now, the same question below 40. If you failed below 40, a student keeps asking questions that I got 34 or 36 and 32. In that sort of a context, is March 25 attempt advisable? Starting with the B level first.
uh, in that case, student will have to check one thing.
Hmm.
If a particular student is in a position to give more time to the study, then
Hmm.
should sit for the immediate attempt. For
Okay.
example, he or she was not able to get good marks, like getting less than 40 considered as a bad
Hmm.
failure. It means it looks that that student was not able to give proper time to the study. If
Hmm.
again there's a time constraint, then I would say do not go for March, then go for June. This is my intake on that.
Okay. 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 Fine. And Miss Zaira, your input on less than 40 marks, should the student go for March exams?
I think maybe he or she can take refresher course, or maybe some sort of crash course sort of thing, just to brush up
Hmm.
the concepts. But yes, in case he has time, in case he think that he can figure out the issues and he can deal with it, yes, he or she can go, but he needs to understand that there's lot to do compared with those who failed at 48, 49. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like you have to think that this is first time probably he's going to attempt the paper, so he needs to get everything done from the scratch. That's my opinion.
Okay. Okay. That's great. And Hussein Kazi, your say on this question?
Less than 40 means there's no excuse if you there's no excuse to identify
Hmm.
the reason of the failure. The first thing.
Mhm.
Less than 40, I must say that it's something bad failure, as you use the term. That's bad
Mhm.
failure. Yes, I think so. So identify the reasons.
Mhm.
The reason that's relate to the concept. So what the uh, where you were wrong?
Mhm.
Why didn't you invest your time that's required to build a concept?
Fine.
Because less 40 means some conceptual matters exist, plus handling the paper as well. Number two, today is 18th of January, and the total time period have 6 weeks. So there are two categories of the students. Some of the students are full-time students. Some students are um, not the full-time students, having some jobs.
Yeah.
So it depends on the schedule. So what I personally suggest that first of all you need to calculate the hours, how much hours you can spare for your studies, and then allocate the things with respect to the revision,
Mhm.
practice, and if you require to invest more concept building, and then start and then plan your strategy accordingly.
Mhm.
For the sake of this, if you want to get some refresher or
Mhm.
some practice question sessions, then go for that. So first of
Okay.
all, my point based on three areas. Number one, identify what the gray areas, then prepare
Mhm.
the strategy, especially with the allocation of the times. Because out of 6 weeks, total 4 weeks remaining for concept building or preparation, last two for the mock and the revision, all these things. So
Fine.
prepare the strategy and then decide go for any short course or not accordingly. That's my point.
Okay, okay, totally agree with that. So I hope the students have got the answers. If you're failing in plus 40 or below 40, is March 25 attempt advisable for you? So you need to evaluate your circumstances. You need to see the time left to the March 25 exam. Will you be able to do it? And more importantly, definitely with the reattempt, there are financial consequences which you need to consider in as well, because you are the best judge of your financial consequences, whether you can go for the March or June. Now, this is a much more broader question. At times, it happened that when the result is out, so suppose the result was out on the 17th of January this time, the student was preparing for a March exam. He was preparing for example, the SBR paper, and he got an SPL result in which he flunked. Now, because he was halfway through the SPR preparation for March, now he got an extra burden that he or she failed in the SPL paper. Now, in that sort of a situation, what the student should do, should he or she continue with the SBR and attempt SBR in March, or should attempt both, carry forward the SPL plus the SPR? In what should be the ideal strategy in this case? Abil Ahmed, starting with you first.
Basically, number one, student will have to first evaluate the circumstances. Number one, if there's no financial issue, number one.
Hmm.
Second, if there's no time constraint, then a
Hmm.
student should go for both the papers.
Okay.
Obviously, if there are financial issues and time constraint as well, then I
Hmm.
would advise, if in the previous paper student got 40 plus marks, sit for the previous paper and defer the
Hmm.
new one. That's what I want to say.
Okay. Okay. Sit for the new paper and defer the old one. Okay. If you have any financial consequences or time management issues, time issues,
Yes.
fine. Ms. Zaira, your intake on this. I hope you're clear with the question.
Actually, again, it's a tricky one. I think it depends upon what the situation of the students is. Generally, students drop the new paper and they
Hmm.
go for the previous one. But again, if you can take the burden, if you think that you are in a position to manage two papers, because it all depends upon the management, time management. So if you think that you can manage both,
Hmm.
not both exactly, 1.5 paper
Hmm.
equivalent load,
Hmm.
then you should go with it. Otherwise, I think starting with the fresh one can be the idea. With the next time, you can, in the meantime, you can start with the paper which is left. So yes, that can be also the strategy. But I think it's very important to discuss this with the student mindset, that what is the situation with respect
Hmm.
to student. I think his situation is very
Totally agree.
important in that.
And yeah, and this time the results were announced late, right? Normally, we don't see results being announced on Friday. We see results being announced on Monday. So this time the results
Mm.
were announced probably a week later. So I think uh, that has also to play a big role in whether you need to go with one and a half paper, the paper you failed and the paper you were preparing for. I think that would also play a crucial factor. And more importantly, the previous paper you failed, again, you failed that in above 40 or below 40 would also be a distinguished factor, whether you were going with one and a half paper for March or just one paper for March. Hussain Ghazi, your response to this question?
Kashif sir, I must say here, first of all, develop, if any of the student wanted to appear or having a mindset about to go for the both two papers.
Hmm.
So first of all, develop the strategy. How much
Mm.
time the students have to invest for both the papers, and number two, pressure handling for two
Hmm.
exams. It's because strategic professional level exams, it's required a time and the pressure handling as well. Because the last 15 days, what practice need to cover for example, SBR, what need to cover for AAA or other paper.
Hmm.
That's we respect the emotions, but do accept some reality. If you
Hmm.
have, if any of the student manage the time, manage the pressure, let's go for that. Kaisa, the student who got 99 in SBR
Hmm.
also passed the SBL with the same attempt.
Okay. Hmm.
SBL,
Great.
SBL with the same attempt.
Hmm.
So it's about the mind game. That's the
Yeah,
key point.
totally agree.
Uh,
Totally agree.
other and last point, even go for any one exam. Even go
Hmm.
for any one exam. Prepare a good strategy, because the previous
Totally agree.
legacy, it's about your failure, and you
Hmm.
are going
Mm.
for the next exam. So you have to develop a good strategy for that. And once again, the motivation is not the only thing. Discipline.
Hmm.
It's a
Discipline.
discipline.
Mm.
As
Totally agree.
Abid said
Mm.
that, obey the advices of the teachers. Huh? That's a
Mm.
key point. And
Totally agree. So
what
you,
I
mhm,
suggest, the most recent paper
mhm,
that's flung by the exam student must have to
mhm,
attempt immediately. Exceptionally, any of
mhm,
the student, for example, flung with the SBR and already covered 60-70% of the SBR. This is something
mhm,
exceptional.
mhm.
So it's depends situation to situation. It depends on
Totally
that.
agree. So fine, fine. So you need a strong mind focus, a strategy, a well-laid strategy if you want to go with an additional paper for March, the one you failed and the one you were preparing for. Okay.
Yes.
Now back to
And
something.
one more
Yeah,
point,
sure.
one more point. Again, I would like to add one more thing, that when you are appearing in a paper which you have already attempted, there is a mindset that whenever you start studying, something will come to your mind that, okay, fine, I did this
Mhm.
before as well.
Agree.
So you have to keep that mindset aside. You need to
Yeah.
understand that no, what you did was not with respect, not up to the examiner expectation.
Mm.
That's why you flung. So
Totally agree.
reattempt the question with that mindset.
Fine, fine. That's totally a agreeable point, because a lot of distraction comes to you when you're preparing a same paper again, because you might open a past paper and you say I've already done it. So you need to overcome those distractions for a smooth sailing. Administrative review. This time I got a lot of questions from students, particularly the 49 ones, and they were asking me, should we spend resources on administrative review? This time the flood of questions on administrative review was more than the previous exam sitting. So what's your input on administrative review? Even though we cover it in each of our post result sessions and we have a clear answer to that, but just want to listen to that again. Ms. Zaira, what's your intake on administrative review? Have you ever seen student results changing in your entire history? You've been teaching ACCA.
No, I have not seen anyone getting 50 instead of 49, and
Hmm.
I have not seen it. So I don't think there's a lack. I mean, there has been a history in ACCA when a student flunk. I have seen a lot of students get fail 3 times three papers, all papers at 49. So that is also
Mm-hmm.
possible. So 49 is perfectly fine. There's, I mean, it hurts. It really hurts,
Mm,
but 49 is okay. I think 50 is okay. So 49 is also okay. That's simple.
mm. Fine. So no administrative review, right? Whether you believe it's a waste of resource and waste of
I don't
time,
think.
should focus on the next
I don't
exam
know.
sitting.
Hussain Kazi can also discuss on it.
No,
Okay, Hussein,
it,
Hussein Ghazi,
no,
yeah.
no, I totally agree with Zaira, and
Hmm,
that's don't go for administrative review. Never. Uh,
hmm,
it's totally wastage of money and wastage of time,
yeah.
in fact,
Hmm.
because
Agree.
ACC has a very strong structure with the
Hmm,
well managed resources for
I agree.
screening the answer, and even they
Hmm,
use the technology as well. And
yeah.
I don't think so. That's that go for that. And even Kaiser, it's nowadays the examination. It's on the quarter basis,
Hmm,
so
exactly.
you don't have enough time to get
Hmm,
the feedbacks from that and then prepare the strategy accordingly. Instead
totally
of
agree.
that, develop your strategy for the next move.
Hmm,
That's much better.
yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
And also
Because
there is
again,
a
this,
hope for
yeah.
at least 10 15 days. There is
Hmm,
also a hope
agree.
attached to the administrative review. Something can be done. Nothing can be done.
Yeah, exactly. Because still, it's been so many years we are all teaching ACCA. We still get this question of the student that, for example, the student flunked at 49. He or she have a doubt that why ACCA has not given me that one extra mark. Matlab, what was wrong with ACCA? So, but probably this is something which keeps. This is a question which comes in every exam setting.
But Zara, back I think so. Back to 2013 with the UK conference, we also asked this question with the tutors or with the examining team,
Hmm,
and they said that
Yeah,
even the
yeah.
48 and 49 marks, with the
hmm,
48 and 49 marks, our team um, are very cautious and very sensitive about that and reassess the
hmm.
particular answer scripts. So that means the
Agree.
student who already got 48 and 49, ACC have already reviewed twice.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
what? So they are very ethically sound people. So don't worry about that. Actually, you failed.
Yeah.
And number two, okay,
Hmm,
for skill module, ACCA shared
hmm.
all the great feedbacks to the students
Yeah.
individually with section
Agree.
A, B,
Agree.
C.
Hmm, hmm. Well, totally
Number
agree.
four,
Hmm,
that means you are getting the individual feedbacks almost. And
hmm,
for
hmm.
strategic professional level exams, the detailed aspect of the examiner report, it's very amazing.
Hmm. Totally agree.
So you the students can easily identify why the student failed instead of go
Hmm.
for administrative review.
Fine,
If
fine.
students
Obviously.
are for a
Hmm,
strategic professional level, if a student says
hmm,
that okay, after the reading of the examiner report, I am very much confident I haven't made mistake like the complaints mentioned with the examiner
hmm,
report. Then you, I don't think so any of the student like that. Then you go for that. Otherwise,
hmm.
don't go for that. No, no,
Totally agree.
no.
Totally agree. Because I've normally seen students that when the result is announced, 2 to 3 days, they spend just on satisfying themselves that they were passed. They should have got that 1 mark, but they didn't got that 1 mark. Then 3, 4 days after, they start to realize, no, we have to prepare for March exams. They're already wasted 4 days. Then they will run after a tutor. They will say, I need a counseling. Should I go for March? They're completely wasting a whole week before they sit down to study for the March exams. Okay, one more thing is that normally this has been a question we are discussing in every of our discussions we do after results is student normally fail in an optional exam like AAA or APM, like thrice or 4 times or 5 times. And a point comes that he asks you a question that I've been failing this paper for like 5 sittings now. Uh, should I change the optional exam for March or June? Miss Zara.
Okay. See, in that case, my question will be, I would like to ask a question from him or her that have you have you seen the examiner report? If you have not
Mhm,
seen the answer examiner report, that means you are repeating that mistake. You cannot blame the paper. You have to blame yourself that you have not seen the examiner report, you have not asked anyone to evaluate your exam paper answer scripts. Because let me tell you a very, I mean, this is very common in APM paper that I ask the
Mm-hmm.
students to share their answer scripts to me so that I can give them feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there are 10 students, hardly two or three students share their answer scripts to me, right? So that means they are not doing it. And if they are not, if they are
Mm-hmm.
repeating same mistakes again and again, not taking their feedback, so you cannot blame the paper. That means you have to first
Totally agree.
evaluate yourself whether what you are doing, what mistakes you are doing. And if you think that no, this paper is very difficult, I'm unable to do this paper six or seven times, then you may try this. But first, I think you need to understand that where you are getting wrong, what's
Mm-hmm.
actually wrong with your strategy. I think that should be the key. I mean, not I know a student who flunked 7 or 8 times, and then
Mm-hmm.
at last he asked someone else to evaluate his answer scripts. And when he got
Mm-hmm.
evaluation, he immediately passed in the next attempt. So I think that's basically what he was doing wrong. Just because of the reason that this is an optional paper, students are thinking like this. If this is a core
Mm.
paper, they have to pass it. No?
Exactly.
So
Agree. Agree.
that's the
Totally
key.
agree. Yeah. So Hussain Kazi, your perspective on this, or you would like to add something to it?
Same point the Zaira said that. Think about that. If these exams are not supposed as optional exams,
Mm-hmm.
what do you say with
Hmm.
respect to the SBN and SBR?
Mm. Exactly.
And
Agree.
if student are thinking, asking to us that should I change the exam, so we should revert and ask a question. Ask yourself that are you
Mm-hmm.
100% agree that you are not a man of that particular subject?
Mm.
If your inner says yes, you are not the particular right person.
Mm.
For example, I
Agree.
am not the right person of the financial management. I've
Mm-hmm.
attempted 4 or 5 times. If your inner says yes, then change your paper. But when the inner says no,
Mm.
or you have some gray areas,
Mm-hmm.
at the point where you haven't prepared or invested your time in a manner as
Mm-hmm.
earlier suggested by Zaira, as required by the examiner,
Mm-hmm. Agree.
the efforts required by the examiner.
Mm-hmm.
So, first
Totally
of
agree.
all, you have to sit, relax, and evaluate your position. Did I invest enough time and in the right strategy, in the
Mm-hmm.
right manner to pass this exam? If not, go and change your strategy rather than change your exam.
Totally agree.
That's the point.
Totally agree. And definitely, yes, yes, Miss Sarah.
And there's one more thing. See, if you see the passing ratio of all the optional papers, it's generally in
Mm-hmm.
30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
38, 37, right? So that means majority of the students are unable to pass the paper. So there is no guarantee that
Agree.
if you switch the paper, you will pass. You may fail
Mm.
because you are doing this mistakes now. So maybe
Exactly.
you will do the same mistakes in the other paper. So you will get the same results.
Agree. Totally agree.
Hajsa,
Yeah. Yeah.
one point.
Yeah. Sure.
You already teach the SBN and AAA, and
Mm-hmm.
I also do the SBR AFM.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is a very concrete point we need to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
SBR is, for example, one of the student attempt SBR and SBN. The
Mm-hmm.
passing ratio is 50-51%. So they have
Fine.
developed the mindset,
Mm.
the quality, the standard of answer.
Exactly.
And sometimes the same behavior with the same behavior of the quality answer and quality
Mm-hmm.
preparation with the mindset of SBR 51%. Going to prepare and attempt the AAA, APM, or AFM exam.
Mm.
And they same quality preparation and quality answer, but not able to pass because the
Agree.
student are not realizing the passing. If the passing rate of option is lower, that means you need to put more effort.
Totally agree.
So this is also a very concrete point.
Totally agree with your perspective, sir. And definitely, when you have given an optional exam for like 4 sittings or 5 sittings, and you're not passing through it, it's not advisable to change it because you have invested a lot into it, in terms of your efforts, in terms of your time, your resources. You know it. The only problem is you're not getting through it. And if you want to get through it, as Ms. Zaira highlighted, Hussain Kazi highlighted, it's just about, yes, you can talk to your tutor, you can find the right strategy to pass, you can investigate the examiner reports. There are so many good resources available which can really help you get through in the next exam setting. So it's again about the self-evaluation, and a very good self-evaluation you have to do at the end of the day. One more question which came to me in the last 24 hours and on like quite a frequently basis. Sometimes the student approach you and tell you that this is my first failure in ACCA. I've never failed before. Suppose he or she has given like 7 to 8 papers, and then he went for like any strategic optional paper or any strategic essential paper, which are more tougher, and he or she fails. Now that's the first failure. Definitely the student is very disheartened, and absorbing that first failure is very difficult. So and the student says, I practiced well, I did everything, I tried doing every resource, I was 100% prepared for my exam, but why I failed? So what sort of advice we can give to students like such? Ms. Sara, starting with you first.
See, there is a very common saying that there is a confidence thing, which is good. There is an overconfidence thing, which is bad, right? So,
Mhm,
except that probably you have not learned the techniques of that paper properly, especially if I'm talking
mhm,
about APM. I know where students are going wrong, what areas they need to improve. So probably your
mhm,
focus was not that much in the paper. Probably you think that you did everything, but probably you have not done the right things for that paper. So just accept
mhm,
the failure that okay, fine, things happen, people fail. It's not a big deal in
mhm.
ACCSE. It's very common. So yes,
Agree.
it's hard to digest, but accept it. Simple.
Super. Fine, fine. And Hussain Kazi, your intake on this, that a student failed for the first time, though it's disheartening, but what should the student do then?
Sir, the very first thing is that it's about whenever you enter for any examination,
Hmm.
and if you move from skill to professional level, no? So the first thing is it's about something related to brain game. No? So
Hmm.
accept that reality. That's not a skill module. It's now
Agree.
the strategic professional exam. That's a huge
Totally
gap.
agree.
And I'm
Totally
not
agree.
discriminating someone, but
Hmm.
this tendency about the maturity
Hmm.
not seems normally who are not a full-time student who was already part of some corporate jobs.
Hmm. Agree.
They already realize that that's we are part of the corporate.
Hmm.
So that behavior reflect no,
Totally
with the
agree.
strategic professional exam. For example, the
Hmm.
typing method, for example, drafting techniques,
Hmm.
in a day. For example, someone working in a job in a day or two, they normally write some email and a drafts, so they have a practice
Hmm.
about that. I'm not discriminating, but this is
Hmm.
the reality. For
Agree.
example, there is a huge gap between F7, FR, and SBR.
Hmm.
Student normally not practicing with the drafting aspect in the FR.
Hmm.
And in the same 3 months time period, student need to learn not only the technical side but also the drafting about the accounting standard issue.
Agree.
So these are the soft elements that you need to cover accordingly. That's very key point. Just focus on the lectures.
Hmm.
It's not enough to pass the exam. Advices mentioned by the tutor that do
Hmm.
practice, do attempt mocks, do feel the exam, that exam simulation. These are the
Hmm.
things that you need to cover. So it's
Agree.
not about to dishearten, rather
Hmm.
than uh, develop the strategy in the right manner. Accept the reality you are part of strategic profession. That's my side.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I agree with both of your perspectives, right? Because definitely it's disheartening for a student who fails for the first time, but you need to overcome that sooner rather later, and you need to follow the advice as the tutors have mentioned in that. Uh, i- i- Failure, I think, is like quite a logical thing you face in ACCA. It's a professional qualification, and one day you have to face that, and you need to overcome that because even failure is a part of your real practical lives as well, right? So you need to know. The determination or confidence through which you overcome that. Now, just moving towards the end part of this session, we've talked about failures under 40 and over 40, attempting March, attempting June, going for administrative reviews. We talked about most of the questions which were raised in the last 24 hours. But in terms of the last thing, is about an advice, which I would like first to reinforce and then ask my tutors to emphasize on that. Uh, Recent papers practice, number one. Review of the examiner report, number two. Getting your answers reviewed by a tutor, number three. Doing answers within the time management at home before your real exam, number four, on a computer based platform. Number five, attempting and getting your mock review. How critical
Hmm.
these six elements are for a student who is appearing for the first time or repeating the March 2025 exams? Or you want to add something to this advice? Starting first with Nizara.
Yes, thank you, Kashyap. Yes, all the elements are extremely important, but I just want to add one more thing. Read the study text. That's also important.
Hmm.
Study text in the sense, there are certain times when when examiner will ask you about the advantages, maybe disadvantages, or something like bookish thing. So you have
Hmm.
to apply it on the scenario. So if you don't know the basics, you won't be able to do it, right? So I think
Agree.
at least read the study text. That is also very important, along with all the
Hmm.
resources you mentioned, and obviously practice and other stuffs. Over.
Totally agree. Hussain Ghazi, your intake on the advice. We want to add something to this advice.
Um, exactly. You covered very comprehensively. But I just wanted to say here, develop a good strategy and embed all these components.
Hmm. Okay.
So, number one, the first thing is that strategy.
Strategy.
Uh, the first thing, only the concept building is not enough to pass exam. So,
Hmm.
simultaneously build your concept and attempt your exam practice accordingly. Develop a question grid, allocate the question grid with respect to the concepts of the all the content of the syllabus, and once you simultaneously cover the content of syllabus and do practice with exam condition, as you
Hmm.
mentioned that.
Fine.
Very good. That's about answer reviewed by the tutor. And two things I wanted to add: at least students at least work out for three mocks.
Hmm.
Number one, mock by the ACC, mock published by the ACC. That's mid of the February 25 for March 25 exam,
Fine.
and 2024 March June
Hmm.
24 exam already available, and September December 24 exam will publish very soon. No?
Hmm.
So
It will.
what I personally suggest to student, these three papers you need to consider as the mock exam, and
Fine.
fourth one will be your exam.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the strategy you need to develop last 15 to 18 days.
Hmm.
So 4 weeks you need to complete for concept building, simultaneously practice questions with time management. Plus, last 15 days
Hmm.
you have to practice at least for three mocks, revision in three mocks. And guys,
Fine.
I wanted to add one more thing. Student must use the AI
Hmm.
tools
Okay.
for their preparation and practicing and in fact reviewing
Hmm.
in a positive manner. One of
Hmm.
the, for example, any of the question student wanted to attempt. So
Hmm.
one of the student, like say, um, just using the AI tools like the Chat GPT or
Hmm.
Gemini or Pilot, whatever.
Okay.
One of the student, for example, if you give some question to attempt this question, and what a foolish strategy the student make, put all the question on the AI tool and then ask to develop answer. This, you are not you are not a kindergarten student.
Hmm.
In fact, you can use as a useful tool. Do
Agree.
attempt the question by yourself,
Hmm.
and then uh, use the AI tool to develop your draft in a good manner. So
Hmm.
use that AI
Agree.
tool as well, not only
Totally agree.
dependent on the material and all these things. And smartly
Hmm.
students can handle accordingly. So
Agreed.
that's a point I wanted to add here, and I've done it. That's a point.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we have some questions quickly before we come to the part of the use of artificial intelligence and chat GPT, because again we can do a session on that, because that's like an interesting topic and a very developing topic where we can focus on. So first of all, there is a student congratulating Mr. Hussain Kazi on your 99 marks in SBR. Then there is another student asking for an advice on text. Unfortunately, our text expert tutors have left the session. So I'll try my best to give you an answer on your comments on the social media, and I'll ask my text tutor to get back to you as soon as possible. There is another student asking for that this was my second attempt for AAA. Uh, Even with good preparation and feedback in the mocks, I failed by 3 marks. What should be the reason of failure? I normally tell my students that it's about the real exam and the paper you do at home. There's a big difference. Within the real exam, you have 195 minutes, and what best you do in 195 minutes, taking the right decisions, choosing the right things. Sir, 1 minute. Allahu Akbar. Okay, fine. I thought there was some sort of an earthquake, because it was just like everything was jittering in. So, uh,
Is everything all right?
I think so. Everything seems okay, but there's quite like a different sort of a voice coming in. Uh, so basically it's about what you do on the real exam day, right? That's more important, and I think that needs to be investigated. That probably you might not have completed the paper, or you might miss something in the paper, or you took a wrong decision on the day of exam, or you answered something wrongly. Because this is a very frequently asked question. The student says that my mock results was good, or my answer checked by the tutor was good, but then why I failed. So you need to understand the real exam is different. The exams you do at home is different, and you need to find that what went wrong on the day of exam. Were you exhausted? Were you stressed out? Did you not attempted something, and so on and so on and so forth. Okay, there is another student asking for which variant of AAA we are doing. Sobia, if you are my student, the variant for AAA we are doing is the international variant, not the UK variant. And that finishes off the question. If you have any further questions, you can raise them now. And anything else, Hussain Kazi, Ms. Zaira, you would like to add in before we just wind up the session?
Sir,
Anything? Yeah, sure.
one question asked by a student to you.
Hmm.
That's he said that I failed twice SBL, securing
Hmm.
45% in December
Hmm.
24 attempt
Okay.
and 36% in my first attempt.
Hmm.
Currently, I am enrolled in your March 2025 session of AAA and have watched
Okay.
approximately 40% of the lectures. But I
Hmm.
haven't started practice yet. What
Okay.
should I do now? Should I continue with the AAA or focus on SBL?
And how much he scored in SPL?
45. For
45. And
last
he's
time
like,
45 and previously 36%.
okay, and he is like 40% prepared for AAA.
Yes, 40%. The name is Sheikh
Okay.
Bilal.
Okay, I think in that case, it's better to go for SBL, because you have a good failure in SBL. You just need a fine tuning for SBL for March 25 exam, so you can do it better. AAA, because it's just 6 weeks away, you need to do practice as well, and lots of practice. So I think if that at this point in time you're like at 40%, it seems very challenging. I have no idea whether you are doing job, you are like a full-time student, you are a part-time student, because again that will also play a crucial part. If you are a full-time student, then you can go with AAA and you can finish off the remaining 60% in the 6 weeks you have. But if you're doing a job, in that case, I would prefer that you shift AAA later.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, there
Okay.
is
I
another
just want to
question.
add
Last,
one more
yeah,
thing.
sure.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
you can
there is a
continue.
question. What's the difference between the international and UK variant of SBR?
Um, international variant is about International Financial Reporting Standard, and UK is about Financial Report FRS, the local
Hmm.
gap of the UK, and that's the accounting standard a little bit adjusted by the local gaps of the UK, and same
Hmm.
applicable for the AAA as well.
Okay, got it. Got it.
But
So,
if you are not UK resident, or you
mhm.
don't have plan to move for the UK, go for international. That's
Okay.
widely acceptable IFRS.
Totally agree. And that's exactly what I have even heard about. I've even put a video on YouTube for my AAA UK and INT. It's the same. It's just about you have something additional in UK variant, which is not in the INT variant. Apart from that, everything is the same. And it's rightly highlighted by Hussain Ghazi that if you have any intention of settling in UK, taking a practicing license in UK and something like that, then you can prefer the UK variants. Otherwise, it's good to go with the INT variants. Okay, Ms. Sara, you were saying something when we took on this question.
Yeah, actually, there is another type of question. Like students say that I flunked 4 or 5 times. Then there is another issue that once that there are students who say that first attempt I got 45, then I got 43, then I got 40, and now I'm getting in 30s. There's
Hmm.
another type of failure. So I believe just want to address those students. That means you are actually diminishing your effort. Your motivation level is going down with
Hmm.
with every time you are studying, you are attempting the paper. So I think in that case it's better to take a break and then attempt any other paper if that's left, and then you can continue with this paper, because that is also a very problematic thing
Yeah,
with different
totally agree.
papers.
That's quite a common phenomena that student mark starts to scale down as they re-attempt a same paper, and very rightly highlighted by Ms. Zaira. Thank you. There's a question from Isma for AAA, which what tips could you provide to increase professional skepticism, especially for those who doesn't come as naturally? I think I normally tell my student that you are an auditor and you need not to trust the management in the paper, and that's normally what the auditor do. You need to think the management is doing something wrong. They're doing window dressing. They're fabricating the financial statements. You need to be negative about the management. You need not to trust the management. Everything they're saying, everything they're telling you, you need to be skeptical. You need to question them. You need to be alert. You need to cross question them, because you're not accepting any stance, any opinion of the management, because they are the one involved in fabricating the financial statement. So you need to be you need to have a very negative mindset when you're attempting the AAA paper as an auditor. Though the negative mindset is bad in the practical life, but for the AAA paper you need to have that negative mindset, and that's how you develop the skeptical approach towards the AAA paper. Okay, again, I think the questions are coming more for AAA. Mohammed Zakir saying, at least how many past papers should we attempt for good marks in professional exam? I believe the recent 7 to 8 papers, or at least the ones which
Exactly.
are on the practice platform, the ones which are on the practice platform should be done to gain confidence on the professional marks. Okay, another question from Saad Sheikh. So, for someone who has failed AAA twice, should we get our answers reviewed on topic basis or attempt papers and get it reviewed? I think you should attempt the full papers because you've given it twice. So, you should submit the full paper to the tutor. So, the tutor can just check whether you're failing in the section A of the paper or you're failing in the section B of the paper, and can give you your desired feedback. Okay, I think that ends the Q&A session. And I really thank you, Ms. Zaira and Hussain Kazi, for taking your time out, coming into this session, sharing your thoughts and perspective about exam results for December 24, guiding students, counseling them how they should approach the March 25 or the June 25 exams. I hope the student must have liked the discussions. If there is any particular question which I get from student post session end about PM or APM or SPR or AFM, I'll be posting to the respective tutors for the proper reply. So don't worry about that. Uh, so I think time to end up the session. Thank you so much. Wish you all the very best of luck for your upcoming March 25 exams. And as rightly highlighted by Hussain Kazi, please ensure that you develop a right strategy and stick to it for the next 6 weeks to get excellence in the upcoming exams. So it's time to sign off from this counseling session from KKDL. And once again, thank you, Zaira Anis and Hussain Kazi, for your time out into the session today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, it's
Thank you.
time to say you goodbye and Allah Hafiz, all of you.
Thank you. Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz.